All right. As always, do a little quick sound check. See what we got going on here. This one will be a short stream today. I wanted to, or perfect. I wanted to. I didn't have anything planned, and I was still working on stuff for my day job. Just kind of got caught into this like new feature that I need to introduce. I really can't show it to you guys because some of the data I deal with is sensitive. So I try to protect it as much as I can in terms of like the code base that I work on. Sometimes features are not even like properly protected yet, and I'm still working on it. And they're on like they're on like live environments. So I try to protect it wherever I can or whenever I can. This one wouldn't be that bad anyway because it doesn't go to anything on the back end. So it's all client side as of now. But I have to work. I just wrote this quick article before I got started here. But I have to work on doing some client side processing. So I get the limited file or a separated file, right? Yeah, I get a file of like tab delimited values or tab separated values, or sometimes comma separated values. And even some cases you can have pipe separated values using the pipe symbol that's right above your enter key. Right. It's above the backslash key. Yeah. So sometimes I get files like that, and it's like, okay, how do I deal with it? And usually I use a actually, let me just put this in the chat here. Pretty much I'm just going over this article, but sometimes I want to do some stuff client side. I don't want to send everything to the back end. Sometimes I just don't think it's necessary. And it's like, yeah, maybe it's a little bit more work to do a client side, but I'd rather do that little bit more work on client side, let it just be done there, and then finally sent to the back end. I don't want the back end to get a whole bunch of BS. I want the back end to get whatever it needs, it processes it, and then gives it right back to the client or sends it to a database or what have you. Also, I'm kind of like doing some picture. I'm gonna start like changing up the pictures on these things, man, because like I have like this code picture above it. So now I'm just gonna like have like different pictures above it. So yeah, this was a pretty cool picture. I was looking at it earlier today. In fact, let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. So it was it's from this artist here, and pretty cool pictures, like really cool pictures. Yeah, really good work. And the one you see, but yeah, this one's pretty interesting too. In fact, I'll probably put it in the description. Actually, let me just look for it now. Just look for the person's name, station, like the file name in there should come up with the artist. Maybe if I do in DuckDuckGo, there we go. Jacob Rebelka. So from Jacob Rebelka on ArtStation, this picture is named Y. I don't know why, but it's pretty cool. But yeah, so this is really good piece of art here. I like it. And I think it's a nice piece to put at the top of the article. Anyways, moving on. In terms of the clients, the data that I have to process, usually it's like, or in this case, it's text files. And those text files, I'm using the Dropzone library or client-side library, Dropzone.js. So with Dropzone, I guess this one is actually themed, which is pretty nice. But with Dropzone, I can click on this area and then find whatever files I need. Ooh, come on. There we go. find whatever files I need, and then go ahead and drop it in this area. I can also take files and then drop them in that area as well. And then it'll do all types of other stuff there too. Which, I mean, I really like this and how this is working, but there's some things that I don't want it to do. Like I don't need it to do, usually what it does, it responds back, or it immediately sends you, once it's uploaded to once it's uploaded to the page, it'll immediately submit it to the backend. So there's a couple of things I did to customize it, to turn off auto discover for the library itself, and quite a few other things. But I really do. So far, it's working out well. But I won't really get into that library and what I had to do. Maybe later on in the stream. But I just didn't want it to act the way it was. So I had to go through, read the documentation. But once I get everything going, then I was able to read files into it. And then once those files are uploaded to the client side, I can actually process it. So essentially what I need to do is I have this tab separated values file, and I need to process that on the client side because I don't want to send it to the back end. And I want to do some pre-processing first as well. And I want to do as much of that client side as I can. Now, this is not some type of requirement. This is not something not so much it's not too much premature optimization. I think it's, this is one of those things where it's like, this is reasonable to do client side, or instead of sending it, server side or back end side, or to your back end, to do a lot of this stuff within the client browser itself so that they can handle some of the processing load. And all you have to deal with is sending them back a report. In my case, I'm going to take that report. I'm going to take whatever's made, and then everything happen. I might even do everything client side. We'll see. But it'll generate that report. And once the report's generated, it'll actually spit out it will spit out an actual XLSX file, right? So it'll be like, highlighted and colors and all types of other stuff, maybe some filters in there. There are some client-side libraries that you can actually deal with that will take Excel spreadsheet files, whether it be the old DOC or the new DOCX file type, or the X file type for XML. It can do a lot of that stuff on the client side as well. So I may not even have to do anything back end. We'll see. I don't know. I'm trying really not to do anything back end. I'm trying to do everything front end if possible, because I just don't think it needs to be done back end. But it can be if I wanted to store some of that information, which would actually be kind of cool. But there's also a part of it where once I read through all these files, I have to actually combine the output of the other files with this file. Like, oh my God, it's going to be freaking, oh God, I don't even know how I'm going to do that. I really do not know how I'm going to do that. We'll see. Anyways, the point of this is talking about converting a file or a value separated file or a string separated file to JSON. In this case, I found convert CSV to JSON in JavaScript, but usually I use this NPM library here, CSV to JSON, and I usually do it on the back end. But as I said, I've gone through talking about this over and over again, but I just didn't want to do anything back end. But usually I use something like this, and this is a decent way of handling it. And I used it before. I think it's a good library. You guys can check it out and use it for your backend and your Node.js applications. But not doing that on my end. So found this blog post here on techslides.com, convert-CSV. How about I just copy it into the chat? I always read it out. All right. So this person, they've been dealing with CSV and TSV files. In this case, they actually have two different functions. One function that actually does splits based off of a comma, and then the other one splits based off of the regular expression of a tab, which is \t. So if you want to do a space, it'll be \s. If you wanted to do something like a pipe character, it would just be the pipe character itself. but certain things that don't have like an actual character associated with it, they'll have special characters. Like you can match all uppercase letters. You can match all lowercase letters. You can match letters case insensitive. You can match all numbers. You can match all spaces or all white spaces, which is the \s. You can match what else? Numbers, letters, and I forgot. I think it's like non-ASCII characters or something like that. If you go to this website, it'll tell you regex 101. And it has this section here. It says single character A, B, or C. Character except A, B, or C. So it tells you all the other ones. So like white space character, non-white space character. So, excuse me, what would be a non-white space character? I guess just a non-white space character. So that can match letters and numbers, I guess, too. We can actually try that. So like, for instance, \s. So this matches, oh. Right, so this can match E1, dash, and special characters as well. And then, yeah, so that does the inverse of matching a white space character, is like a capital S. And then D for any digit, non-digit, word character, any non-word character. What's it called? Match everything enclosed. Okay, so that dot essentially capture. Capture everything enclosed. Match everything enclosed. Capture everything enclosed. I don't know the difference on that one. But this is a good resource to have, regex101.com. I use it quite a bit to test regular expressions. Usually I'll find some regular expression that might meet my need online, or I got to get better with using regular expressions. I say that quite a bit. I'm okay to get the basic stuff done, but some of the more complicated stuff, I usually find that online. I'm not going to lie to you, or use some type of library like the Joy library, which is really good. And I think it has a front end equivalent as well. So, okay. So this one, like if you wanted to match a tab, it would be \T. If you want to match a space, it'd be \S, and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, well, I looked at this and I combined it, right? And I was just like, talk about iterate. So I have the, excuse me. I have the, I have this first revision of this on, or I have what I got from the page on the left-hand side here, and then my first revision of combining the two on this side. So I added where I took in a file type so I can actually define what the file type is. And then I thought about it. I was just like, well, what if I have a CSV, or what if I have a tab, or like what if I have a TSV or a CSV or a PSV for pipe separated values? Like, how would I deal with that? I need some way for it to automatically do it. Like, why am I, going to have to program this or hard code this in? I should just be able to throw this file as a string, which is already converted, processed by another function, and then throw the file or send the file to, or pass the file as pass the string, or pass the file that's been converted to a string as a parameter to this function, and then go from there. So I was just like, well, how can I do that? So then I finally came up with this, and this is the final revision to it. Again, a great article, but I just wanted to take it a little bit further by quote unquote making it better. I'm trying to, all right, we'll just go like this and just go through it. So using, again, my usual, standard in terms of how I write my functions now, I always have a return object. And that return object has status, message, and payload. I use try catch blocks. and that's standard. And then I have my default error handler. That's standard again. That's just something you can find in some of these other in the other articles, and it's actually shown here as well. But if you look at this here, what I do is I do my little bit of error checking here, no data supplied if there's nothing that's actually passed. So I just throw my error there, and then I do my lines here. So the file, or now it's a string, you go through the lines, and then it splits it by new character, right? And then I have my result, and that's going to be empty array for now. But then I do my separator, right? So before, what you saw is that I would do Daniel Tucker. Well. I finally caught the stream somewhat close to the beginning. Yeah, Daniel, I'm usually pretty bad with this stuff lately, man. I've just been kind of just lackadaisical, almost not caring, almost not wanting to do it. But I was working on this, and I thought this would be pretty interesting, and I can actually just do a nice little code review on it. But I'll probably be working back on this feature here pretty soon, or after this stream. So that's why I want to kind of keep it short tonight. But I kind of started it sort of on time, only 30 minutes late. But hey, man, thanks for joining, man. I appreciate it. And even if you catch the playback, bro, thanks for just showing up and leaving a comment. And thanks for all the others that do the same as well, man, and come through and, just give me those eyeballs, those views. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you get something out of it as well. But so as I was saying, like I'm going through and I have this SV file to JSON, right? So like this value separated file, send that, or I need to convert that to JSON. Now, this is something that's done by other libraries, but I found some really good functions. And we're skipping past all of that. Talked about that earlier just to catch Daniel up a little bit. But we have separator, right? Now, I need to determine what the separator is, and then return that at like in a little function. So I have somewhat of I have a function expression here. It's not an iffy because I'm not like I'm only calling this function when it needs to be called. I'm not actually immediately invoking this function. It is called when it needs to be. Excuse me. So it doesn't take in anything, even though it probably would be a good idea for it to actually pass a parameter. But I have it hard coded because the separator is always defined by the first lines here. And also, this is not really used anywhere else or any other functions or anything like that outside of this. So it's used within the actual function. It's a function within a function. So I have lines 0. So lines, the first line that I have, because everything is split in an array of lines. And the first line is, what's it called? Is at index 0, point 0. And then I do if lines that includes comma, right? So if it's a comma, return comma, and that'll be the separator character. Now, if I wanted to, I can actually expand this. Essentially, I'm looking at the first line. If that first line includes a comma, then I know it's a comma separated value. If that first line includes a tab or a pipe or another character or something like that, then I know it's that character. I need to return it. Now, if I don't have anything that catches it, I need to throw an error because again, working with better, cleaner code that can actually produce errors and errors that actually are meaningful and actually helpful and also keep you from screwing up anything else later on down the road. You want these errors to bubble up. Then throw unable to determine separator, right? So once that's done, then I can do let headers, split lines, and then use our separator function or a separator sub function, or I guess you would call it a method, if you will, within this function. I don't think it's properly defined, so I don't want to call it a method, but I still need to get better with understanding all that stuff. So I have dot split separator, and then this will output a separator. So it'll either return a comma or T, or it will throw an error, right? And it won't return anything, right? So it'll throw that error and then exit out of this function, which will essentially act as a return, and then go to the nearest catch block, and then give us a nice error in the console. All right, so from there, let headers split, and then for let, and then you go into your for loops here, And essentially what this is doing is going through the first line, right? And once it has that first line, it's going to say, okay, well, after that first line, that will be considered the headers, right? And then I'm going to go through all my other, my subsequent lines. If it's a class, then it's a method. If it's just a script, it's a function. Okay, thank you for, let me put that up there. If it's a class, then it's a method. If it's just a script, it's a function. All right, so yeah, you can define classes within your script, and then you should be able to call methods from that class. Correct me if I'm wrong. And if that's the case, then at that point, you can call your method of that function. So I'm thinking of things like I want to say maybe the date constructor. I don't know if that's a class. Give me an example of a class, like a good example that we use all the time. I want to say date. You are right. Okay. All right. But yeah, what is a good example of a class that we use all the time? I want to say like new date, but that uses the construct, or that's the constructor, or that's considered a constructor. More than anything. So, but thank you for that, Daniel. That definitely helps others and myself. So you have your standard for loop. So reading through this lines.length, essentially you're gonna do lines.length. So this is counting the amount of lines. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't go through this the first time. So let's go through this together so we can understand the stuff that we copy and paste. Because a lot of this stuff, or the bulk of this, I kept. And then there was a couple of things that I changed, of course, such as like the separator, and added to this, and made the function, I would say, a little bit more robust, and also fitting my needs. So first, for it's going to go through all the lines, and then it's going to tell me how many lines I have. Then I'm going to define an empty object. Then I'm going to look at the current line. So whatever the current line is, I'm going to take that current line and split it by whatever the separator is, right? So that separator in this case is a tab. Then from there, it's going to be for let j equal headers. So in this case, we go back to our headers at the top, which is defined here, right? So we get that first header. I was about to say, I was like, did it start at 0 or not? So what it did, it said let I equal 1. So it started past the first line, or the first the first index, or the first, the first point in the index, or the first index in the array. There we go. Okay, cool. Daniel Tucker says, FYI, Code Complete by Steve McConnell is a great reference for beginner to intermediate developers. Okay, let's look that up. Oh, so we can find a PDF. Code Complete, 2nd edition ebook. Hey, look at you, Daniel Tucker, helping people out. All right, so per Mr. Tucker's recommendation, Code Complete, 2nd edition. Is this Microsoft Press? All right, let's see here. Let's go through this real quick. I hope it's like a readable one. Welcome to Software Construction, Metaphors for a Richer Understanding of Software Development. Measure twice, cut once, upstream prerequisites. 2nd edition is recommended. Okay. All right, that's the one we got. And Daniel, check that link out and see if you think it's a good one. But it looks like this is pretty on point. How program size affects construction. Managing constructions, integration, programming tools, the software quality landscape, the collaborative construction, developer testing. Okay. Can I? Hold on. I want to see something in here. Excuse me. I want the measure twice, cut once, upstream prerequisites. That I want to see. So that's page 23. It's I don't know how much pages this thing is off by. It's still in the preface. Oh, geez. Welcome to construction. 7. 31. All right. Measure twice, cut once. Upstream prerequisites. Importance of prerequisites, page 24. Determine the kind of software you're working on. Problem definition prerequisites, requirement prerequisites, architecture prerequisites, amount of time to spend on upstream prerequisites. So that sounds like, overview type stuff in terms of like defining what the problem is, what the business requirement is, and what the user, what the ultimate goal is. And then, of course, all the other fancy stuff that comes along with in terms of like analytics and all the data that you can actually derive from the data that you're actually working with or producing, or ingesting or even ultimately producing. Importance of prerequisites. Okay, so I'm going to just read this real quick and then we'll get back to it. But I think it's just I just want to see kind of get a feel for the book. Okay, cross-reference. Paying attention to quality is also the best way to improve productivity. For details, see section 20.5, the general principle of software quality. Yeah, I might need to read this. A common denominator for programmers who build high-quality software is their use of high-quality practices. Okay, hey, I think, okay. Yes, it is, but I'm making note of it for the chat. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, Daniel, for confirming like this is the right one. Yeah, I feel, I feel like this is like I don't feel attacked. I feel like I'm being affirmed here. Probably not me, but whatever. My ego will say it is. Okay, so a common denominator for programmers who build high quality software is their use of high quality practices. Oh, guys, I don't know. Think he's talking to us. Such practices emphasize quality at the beginning, middle, and end of the project. Okay, I'm getting better with that. That's for sure. If you emphasize quality at the end of the project, you emphasize system testing. Testing is what many people think of when they think of software quality assurance. Testing, however, is only one part of the complete quality assurance technology, and that it's not the most influential part. The testing can't detect a flaw such as building the wrong product or building the right product in the wrong way. Oh yeah, that happens. Like, and that's a pretty powerful line right there. Testing can't detect flaws such as building the wrong product, which is just not delivering a satisfactory product output or what have you to the end user or client, or building the right product in the wrong way. So you built the right thing, but you just did it wrong in terms of it's not able to scale. It's not able to produce things in a fast manner or within a short time span. Things like that. It's like, okay, hey, listen, this gets the process done, but how long does it take? Can this be even faster? What are you doing to actually make it faster? So on and so forth. If you emphasize quality in the middle of your project, you emphasize construction practices. Such practices are the focus of most of this book. If you emphasize quality at the beginning of your project, you plan for, require, and design a high-quality product. If you start the process with designs for a Pontiac Aztek, bro, I remember that car, the Pontiac Aztek. That was so popular because I think that was like the prize in the first Survivor, first season of Survivor. And the guy got a Pontiac Aztek or something like that, man. Jesus, that thing was so popular. Pontiac, period. You can test it all you want to, and it will never turn into a Rolls Royce. Okay. You might build the best possible Aztec, but if you want a Rolls Royce, you have to plan from the beginning to build one. In software development, you do such planning when you define the problem. when you specify the solution, and when you design the solution. Okay. Since construction is in the middle of a software project, by the time you get to construction, the earlier parts of the project have already laid some of the groundwork for success or failure. I know about that, man. And, and you see this a lot when you have to refactor code. Like when you go back and you just look at what you've done. Like, again, I had an interview a couple weeks ago, and it really changed how I looked at how I write my functions, standardization, an actual template of how I actually should write functions, or an actual template for the output, and checking for errors and everything else like that. Hey, listen, all functions are async, or all functions have a return object, and that return object has 3 keys, and then it has 3 values. 2 of them are usually strings, with the third being any type of data structure that I need to return, and it's referenced by return object dot payload. So it's like having those standard practices, and that's very, very slow. That's very, very low end and very small, but it is pretty important. All right, cool. So we'll finish reading this. Since construction is in the middle of software project. Okay. Okay. During construction, however, you should be at least able to determine how good your situation is, and to back up if you see the black clouds of failure looming on the horizon. The rest of this chapter describes in detail why proper preparation is important, and tells you how to determine whether you're really ready to begin construction. Wow, yeah, this is good read. Good. I didn't want you to feel attacked. I love the fact that you're making software dev available in this sector. Oh, no, bro. No. I definitely don't feel attacked, man. I just wanted to make sure that it was like the right one and everything like that, bro. I try to be a little bit more flexible and understanding of some of the things that people are saying. And then also, like, people like yourself and Richard Dixon that comes through with some of the problems that he actually has, and we work on together. With you, it sounds like you're more experienced, especially with the materials and some of the things that you say. Like you guys are bringing more value, not only to me, but to other people that are actually watching this, because you can listen to me and see, hey, listen, I'm learning as I go, flying by the seat of my pants. Sometimes I say something 1 minute, and then next minute I found out it's wrong, but it's about that correction, man, about that growth, that journey. So I really do appreciate you actually putting this book in front of everybody. I'm not going to lie. I fucking hate reading, but I definitely am going to like fire up my tablet and go through this, man, because at the end of the day, this is what's going to help me make the big bucks. This is what helps other people make the big bucks. And if it's, if the barrier to entry into a 6-figure salary, or way into the 6-figure salaries, into the 200 marker, is that you have to read a couple hundred pages. I mean, or in this case, almost 1,000 pages. What does that mean? Like, if you're not willing to do that, then of course, you're not willing to do what's necessary to get what you want. And if you want that 6-figure salary, or high 5-figure salaries, man, like you're gonna have to do the work. And a part of doing the work is reading this stuff and doing little coding sessions like this. But I do appreciate you, man, and I definitely don't feel attacked. And I appreciate you, looking out for my fifis. But this is a really good one. I think this is really good. Okay, let's read this. You might think that all professional programmers know about the importance of preparation and check that the prerequisites have been satisfied before jumping into construction. Unfortunately, that isn't so. A common cause of incomplete preparation is the developers who are assigned to work on upstream activities do not have the expertise to carry out their assignments. The skills needed to plan a project, create compelling business case, develop comprehensive and accurate requirements, and create high-quality architectures are far from trivial. So damn true. Especially the stuff that I'm listening to about serverless and other stuff, man. Oh, my goodness. It's crazy. Daniel, I'll get to your comment in a second. But the stuff I'm listening to about, messaging queues and push messages and using WebSockets and using, Amazon's elastic load balancer, and then why you have to go to, instead of the layer 7 load balancer, you do the layer 4 load balancer, so on and so forth. Man, it's different, man. It's different when you listen to all that type of stuff, man. And system architecture and going through it is it's something else, man. It's like it's really involved, and you have to know all the pieces. It's not just good enough to know about, hey, listen, I think this could work. It's like, no, I have to know that this works, and you have to go through the testing. Okay. Actually, let's read this comment here by Mr. Tucker. Man, I'd love to share some of my code I've developed, but I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so I'm limited to what I can share on GitHub. I'm in the six range. Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. I fell out of the 6 range for 2020 going or 2021, but hopefully I'll be back into it. Actually, I might be close to it. Depends on what you add in there. But yeah, I fell out of the 6 range, and I might be actually touching it, and I definitely should be into it next year for sure. But yeah, there's some code that I don't share, and that's why I do my projects. And then also I generalize a lot of stuff, like the stuff that I work on for my day job. There's a lot of stuff I don't share, I don't share on that. I try to share as much as I can, man, just to give people examples. But I'm sure you have some like really killer stuff. If you can, man, like even if it's just one function, like that's really interesting. Generalize it as best as possible. But I don't know how deep your NDA goes in terms of like, okay, you can't share anything. I've seen NDAs I've heard of NDAs like that you can't share a single thing with nobody, not even your own family, bro. And I've heard like, Apple guys getting what's it called? Getting fired for that, bro. Ridiculous. It's not ridiculous, but it's millions of dollars for them, and they have competitors that are spies and stuff like that. So, and you might have government contract. Oh man. Your NDA might be sick. Some people's NDAs are so damn sick they can't even talk that they can't even say that they code. So it gets that crazy. But yeah, I appreciate that, man. Like if you can, bro, if you can share like a function or something, bro, send it to me and I can anonymize it and say, hey, listen, this is from somebody. I won't say no names, but it'd be kind of cool just to like go over that. That's if I could understand it. The skills needed to plan a project, create a compelling business case, but most developers have not received training in how to perform. Okay, here we go. And create high quality architectures are far from trivial, but most developers have not received training in how to perform these activities. When developers don't know how to do upstream work, the recommendation to do more upstream work sounds like nonsense. If the work isn't being done well in the first place, doing more of it will not be useful. Explaining how to perform these activities is beyond the scope of this book, but the additional resources section is at the end of this chapter. Sections at the end of this chapter provide numerous options for gaining that expertise. Some programmers do know how to perform upstream activities, but they don't prepare because they can't resist the urge to begin coding as soon as possible. Okay. If you feed your horse at the trough, I have 2 suggestions. Suggestion 1, read the argument in the next section. It may tell you a few things. Okay. It may tell you a few things you haven't thought of. Suggestion 2, pay attention to the problems you experience. It takes only a few large problems to learn that you can avoid a lot of stress by planning ahead. Let your own experience be your guide. Okay, I'll leave that. So yeah, definitely, guys, you can whoever's listening to this, you can check the chat and check out this book, which is Code Complete by Steve McConnell. All right. And that's funny, man. I keep it simple. I solid principles. I was just listening to I was listening to something about solid just the other day. In fact, let me look for that video. Guy went over. I think it was pretty cool. That solid principles, the one that was put together by Uncle Bob, or who's known as Uncle Bob, who I thought it was like super cool that Uncle Bob looked at the internet as a big input-output machine. And I thought that was like super, it was like, whoa, you put something in, like put something into a search bar or into the network, and then you get an output, which is a web page or something else like that. I thought that was pretty cool in terms of like looking at looking at how the internet works, or what an overview of what the internet is. It's a big input-output function, or machine, if you will. I thought that was pretty cool, listening to a talk by Uncle Bob. And yeah, definitely listen to talks by Uncle Bob. In fact, let me try and find one. Very well known. Oh, wow. Okay. So Uncle Bob explains solid principles. Actually, I want to. This one's pretty cool. All right, so this is an hour and a half talk. I might watch this like on my next walk or something like that. Listening to Uncle Bob explain solid. And then there's the video that I sent before that explains solid as well. The internet is a huge input output machine, at least what's indexed. Yeah. There's a lot that's not fucking indexed. Imagine, like, just when you find that part of the internet that no one or little to no people know about. And it's just like, it's crazy. Anyways, let's get back to this. I did say it was going to be a short stream, right? I lied. Alrighty, so we were I haven't seen what Uncle Bob has to say. Thank you. Yeah, I think Uncle Bob came up with the solid principle. And he came up with the solid principle, and he has like a couple other principles in terms of like how you should program, and then also how you should compartmentalize your code to where things are kind of modular, a little bit more modular. Yeah, it's both our faults. Yeah, it's both our faults. But it's good to talk about this, man, because we who's taught we don't get to talk about it, as you said, in this space, and brothers that are in this space and see this type of stuff, we don't talk about these things and quote unquote nerd or geek out, or I don't see a lot of people. I do see other people, of course, that are Black, other minorities, doing live coding sessions, stuff like that. But it's cool to, see other brothers that are in this space that maybe want to get into it, talk about it as well. All right, so let's go through this for loop. So in this for loop, it's going to look at the lines array, and it's going to get the length of that. And then with the lines array, it's not going to start off with the first one, because the first one is our headers, and it's going to split that by our separator character, right? And then so as we go into the loop, we're going to define an object, right? And in every iteration or cycle of this loop, this object will be blanked out, and it'll be a new object. And then it will go over the current line. So current line, we're going to look at lines, and then at the index of I, or whatever the value of I is. And then we're going to split that by the separator. And then once we do that, we're going to have another for loop, so a sub for loop. And then that should actually give us our structure in terms of for everything in headers, I need to get the value that is associated with that header, that column header. Holy shit, you're right. Uncle Bob that came up with that solid. Yeah. I remember it was in that video that I linked a little before the Uncle Bob talk. But I didn't know until I think I watched that video, and I watched that video a couple weeks ago now. And yeah, he came up with that. But Uncle Bob is yo, bro, there's a reason why people call this motherfucker Uncle Bob, bro. A lot of people look up to him, and he is definitely a I think, did Uncle Bob? Hold on. Who wrote? I think he helped write Go. Golang. I think, bro. Did Uncle Bob, developer? Designed at Google, Robert. Bro, I think Uncle Bob is a part of the original team that came up with Go. Hold on, let me see. Robert Grayson, and then Rob Pike. No, he didn't. Damn it. I thought for a second he did, but man, I've seen Uncle Bob have talks with other people. In fact, I remember a talk that Uncle Bob had with the creator of he had a talk with the creator of Agile. And like they were going over it, and Uncle Bob goes, "Oh yeah, so what's a code base that you worked on?" And it was like, "Yeah, 1,000,000 lines." And I'm like, "1,000,000 lines, dude? Are you serious? I barely get out of 5 figures in terms of the lines of code that I've written. Like I barely get out of that unless it's like an app that I'm growing over time." Bro, these dudes were talking about 1,000,000 line C files, bro, or like 1,000,000 line projects. And I'm like, yo, these dudes is like juggernauts, bro. Uncle Bob and creator of Agile. Bob Martin. Oh, Bob Martin. Wow. Somebody's like, meet Agile Bob, founder of Agile. Bob Martin, and then oh man, sorry, I you know how it is. You think about something and then excuse me. Oh, not Agile, but Scrum, I guess. Scrum, yeah. I'm just looking at something on the other screen, but Bob Martin and founder of Agile for All, Bob Hartman shares. Dang. Hold on, give me a sec, guys. Let me just find this one talk. I think you guys would probably like it. It's something I watched, man, probably close to a year now. Damn it. Damn, I can't find it. But it was an interesting talk. It was Uncle Bob and somebody else at a meetup, and I thought it was pretty cool. If you develop scripts, you'll get there in less than 20 years. Yeah. That's true. If you like, if you develop enough scripts and like you start doing more apps and stuff like that, and actually you're growing to like apps. But I mean, some of my apps, I have to get like proper code counts. Some of my applications because it'll do all the other JavaScript libraries and stuff like that you have part of your project that weren't really written by you. And then sometimes they're not minified, so then that screws up your count a little bit. So yeah, I haven't found a way to get like an accurate count. I haven't done a great search either, but I haven't found a way to get an accurate count. Yeah, Bob and Linus are some bad motherfuckers for real, bro. Like Linus, he's calmed down, as they said, over the past few years. But that type of dude and what he's done, has broken a lot of programmers. But then also like look at what is produced because of it. So he's gotten better with that. That's what branches are for. So even if you do branches though, right? Like you do your GitHub branches. Oh, another good video. And I watched this and I thought it worked out really well for me. A friend of mine sent this to me a couple weeks ago. And, I learned about git add dash P. Yeah, git add dash P period. So like you'll go through all your commits or you go through all your files and then you can see all the patches, aka the changes, deletions, inserts, things like that. And you can actually link address. you can actually do a lot. You know, you can do a lot with Git in terms of like you doing Git status and looking at, you know, what's been done in the past, or Git log, seeing what's been done in the past. Git status, what's the status of your commits and what haven't you written a commit for. So this is a great video on Git. Great Git grammar. Okay, Linus doesn't have to do anything else. He created Git version control. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, okay, Linus doesn't have to do anything else, but what did he do before that? You know, Linus Torvalds creating the Linux kernel, you know, as a way of saying F you to Unix. You know what I mean? Like as a young, I think 20 something or something like that. I don't even think he was that old, right? But like, you know, Linus Torvalds has done so much for just for me, period, in terms of me using all the different flavors of Linux, and also how you see like the Linux kernel has permeated even to, I think it's in Windows to a certain extent. Apple devices, you know, the Apple operating system has a, I think, modified version of the Linux kernel. You know, so it's just like all these different things that are based on these Unix-like Unix-like kernel that everybody has done so much, you know, on top of. Yeah, Linus is one of the greatest contributors to open source of all time. Yeah, even before the first person that actually came up with open source, just because he couldn't actually modify his print driver and fix the problem. You know, it wasn't open source. So then after that, he started doing open source. And like the story of open source, man, it's just like freaking beautiful. But yeah, there's a lot into it, man. What people have done for just quote unquote community, you know, and it's crazy. Yeah, I was listening to a Netflix talk about push notifications today. So let me find that video. It's about scaling push, because I like doing more of the infrastructure stuff. Netflix scaling push. So what was cool about this is Netflix scaling push. The guy was just talking about at the end. He's like, "Hey, listen, we've done our Zol push server, or I think it's a Zul push server, which is their own push notification service that they've actually made, or actually push notification architecture that they've made, which is a couple different servers, like a register server and edge servers and all types of other stuff." So it's a whole bunch of different microservices. So it's a whole ecosystem, if you will. But they've made that open source. And then they say, hey, listen, go ahead and find bugs. Essentially, they're getting people to do stuff for free in a sense. And it's even crazier because I'm watching code reviews or like Google code reviews, where if you find like a server-side execution or a server-side vulnerability of some sort, Google will pay you 130 freaking grand. This one dude got paid not only the top bounty of 133 grand, but he also got paid 31 grand because he found a server side execution bug, which is freaking just amazing, man. Like crazy. I'll put that video in there too. But I watched this and I go, I watched this and I kind of really go off on this type of stuff, man. But yeah, this guy got, he got $165, I think, 165 grand. Okay. All right, I'll read this and I'll go on. DevOps require that you know more than infrastructure. Are you looking for work right now? I'm looking for people to add to my ranks. I'm a DevOps manager. Yeah, man. I've been looking for a job for a couple weeks now. Supposed to have an interview at some point today. Yeah, earlier today, but they canceled on me. But yeah, bro. Yeah, I've been looking for some work. So, and just to kind of get out of like my current job right now. Not that I don't like it or anything like that, but problem that I have is I don't I'm the only one that works on the code base, and with that, I lack the team level experience as well as working with working with teams, and then working with a CI/CD pipeline, and then also working with larger ecosystems and applications and stuff like that. So sadly, that's just the experience that I don't have. Great bunch of guys and everything else like that. My boss is my best friend, former business partner, but yeah. I'm in the process of migrating a Kubernetes cluster. After I'm finished, then I'll contact you. Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know if you have my contact information, man. Let me know. When you say K8, I think that's Kubernetes. Yeah, I think it's Kubernetes. But I can teach you CI/CD. Yeah, I don't think it's super hard, man. Once you learn all your different all the processes that go into it in terms of linting and all your TDD, maybe your TDD pipeline and all types of other stuff, and then any type of automation that you might have. Yeah, Kubernetes, cool. K8s, yeah. I just wanted to make sure on that because again, like I know some of that stuff, but it's like once you learn all that type of stuff with your CI/CD pipeline, but it's like being exposed to it. What's in your CI/CD pipeline? Are you running some Babel? Babel Babel? Are you running any of the new stuff like with GitHub? You have, what do they call it? Git. Damn it. What is it in Git, man? Git has a new one, the Git autopilot, So it's like, okay, are you running any of that type of stuff? And, how are you using that? Like if you look at some of my infrastructure code, like, how does that all work? How does it push? How do you update stuff? How do you do all your checks, things like that? So that's the type of stuff that I'm not currently exposed to, and it's slow going, exposing myself to it with some of the things that I read, like some of the stuff that you're giving me, and then all the other things that I watch as well, man. But yeah, guys, check out some of the links that I've been sending. A lot of good stuff that Daniel's been talking about, that he's been bringing up and making me talk about. So I think it's a really good stream, man. It's a really good stream. A lot of knowledge being dropped on this, man, in terms of, or a lot of exposure, not knowledge. A lot of exposure is being dropped on this. And if you guys listen to some of these things, listen to some of these bigger talks for these bigger ecosystems, bro, crazy stuff, really cool stuff. In fact, let me do one more. This was at DockerCon. About like message architecture. Yeah, message-based microservices. Woman doing this one, she did freaking amazing. And I see there's a lot of like really smart women that are out there, man. You'll need to understand the 12-factor methodology. All right, cool. Thanks a lot, Daniel. We're going to be looking that one up. Jeez. Cool. All right. But yeah, we're definitely going to be looking that up in a second. But let's get through this here, and then we'll look up the 12-factor methodology. Dev in general, you need to know okay. We'll look up the 12-factor methodology so that we can get that experience, get exposed to that. All right, so in this one right here, now we're gonna cycle through all of the headers, right? And then once you cycle through all the headers, we're gonna put the current line and associate that with the right header. HTTPS 12factor.net. Thank you for that. We'll click on that in a second. Yeah, we'll click on that in a second. All right, cool. Show the screen. So once we've cycled through, got the current line, now we have to associate that line with the right index in terms of what's it called? We have to associate that with the proper column. And this would seem almost not backwards, if you will. Like you have to cycle through the lines first and then cycle through the associated index. So that's kind of like, cycle through the associated column, or to find the associated column. So I don't think I would have thought of that. That would have took me a second to like figure that out. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I thought this was pretty interesting in terms of like, usually I would think you'd find the headers first and then get the lines. I'm not sure if you could reverse that. I haven't really tried it, but I thought that was pretty cool. So let value. So in this case, what I did is I added this let value because it's key value pair. So let value equal current line. The problem I was having is I wanted to do a replace. So what I noticed is my output was producing it would produce a line that would be associated, or a value it's associated with its appropriate column or header name. Nah, it's not you. It's not on you, Daniel. You're good, bro. Don't stop. I mean, it's a good flow in terms of what we're doing. I'm just making fun of the situation, but a lot of stuff has been like pushed out, and it's just sometimes, you know, some people be like, "Come on, man, get back to what you're saying," because you'll see it in comment sections on other videos. Not so much mine because I don't get like too many comments, but I try to be mindful of that. Like some people wanted like say, "Listen, focus." So that's me, and I'm just making fun of it. You're good. So object, so headers, J. So in this case, I can do it on the headers, but sometimes I notice some of my headers would have a return character. And how the return character look? Say for instance, we have our output, so column, and then it would have a return character like this. So now you have to replace this return character because it may cause some issue in your output. So this is just kind of sanitizing some of your output, if you will. So I just had to get rid of that return character. So I got rid of the return character here and replaced it with just nothing, right? Double, what's called double quotes with nothing in between, not even a space. And then I did the same thing for some of the values as well, because some of the values would get it as well. And it might have been a little bit quote unquote cleaner if I just actually associated this with like not headers, but maybe like column name or something like that, dot replace. That would have been a little bit quote unquote cleaner. Probably would have been cleaner so I can actually maybe like move it up somewhere and do some other stuff. But I had to do it like this because if current line, right? And then what I did is I negated it with the exclamation point. So I did not current line, because that would match that would be falsy. So that would match a false, meaning like undefined, an empty, or undefined or empty in this case. So if it's undefined or empty, it would match this, and then I would just say continue, which is a nice thing about having some of these for loops or using a for loop as opposed to using something like a map or any other higher order functions that deal with array in JavaScript. And I like to continue. I like for loops because I can do continue, or I can do a break if I needed to, right? Which is like, you know, you could do a return, but then it should just loop you right back around. So I can do a continue in this and then go from there. Yes, or a map, or an every, or dot every, if anything, or maybe even dot filter or something like that. So if I want, and you can use a higher order function if you want and make it work. So in this case, I do this, and if it's a falsy, then I just continue, and then it doesn't process anything else. Because what you would have is sometimes you would have lines that would be empty, especially at the end. And also one of the things I wanted to do is and you see how this is right here where it says like current line. I could have just used value because it's associated with current line. And I think it would be a lot better and cleaner in the long run to, what's it called? Like once you've already associated it here, then why are you using the original version? So it would be almost like no point in associating it here to, or assigning it to the variable value. Like what's the point of doing that? So I'll probably go back and change that. That's just one thing, right? Because it's like, that's kind of a little bit confusing, and it's probably not the best way to handle it, because maybe I'm doing some type of transformation and now I got to worry about the fact that value is not down here, and that's a problem, but it is here. The reason why you do this is because I have to assign value. Like either I have to make value into something like a space or something like that, or else it'll be undefined down here and I can't do a replace, and that would spit out an error. So that's one problem that I ran into. Also, at the end, if is non-empty object. So that's horrible wording, but I haven't changed it because it's just so common. Like is non, is this, is that. So essentially, it's saying like if this is a non-empty object, then result dot push. But if it's an empty object, don't even run this. And that's that's just another guard statement to make sure that I don't push any empty objects to the array because we don't need those. And then after that is non-empty array. So is it a non-empty array? If it's an empty array, then throw empty array. If it's a non-empty array, then we're good. We don't have to worry about that. But this is just looking at our results. So like, for instance, if I process all of this and somehow nothing comes out of it and it's an empty array, then I should throw an error because of that. And then I should catch that error and go from there. After all that, return object. That's it. So yeah, I got to go over this and I'll probably be working on this. Daniel's working on his Kubernetes and I'm probably going to be working on this function to try and get this working, looking a little bit better. Let's go to 12factor.net and read up on that. A lot of great stuff tonight. The 12-factor app. I feel like I'm in like I feel like I should be like, going through this, like using a Tor browser to go to this website. Like this shit is so basic. It's like, yo, I shouldn't even be on this part of the web. Jesus Christ. Like if there's probably like a hidden pixel somewhere. You see how like all this, I can click on this and it goes somewhere. There's probably a hidden pixel somewhere that like gets me to the Silk Road. Introduction. In the modern era of in the modern era, software is commonly delivered as a service called web apps or software as a service. The 12-factor app is a methodology for building software as a service apps that use declarative formats for setup automation to minimize time and cost of new developers joining the project. Have a clean contract with the underlying operating system. What? Have a clean contract? Okay, that's interesting. Hey, listen, Daniel, man, if you want to talk more about this, bro, definitely let's do a stream together and talking more and going over this if you can. And this shit, I want to say, it doesn't, conflict with your NDA. Just talking about methodologies like this and gaming more people up on it, that would be awesome. So please let me know if you're cool with doing that. Have a clean contract with the underlying operating system, offering maximum portability between execution environments, are suitable for deployment on modern cloud platforms, obviating the need for servers and system administration, minimize divergence between development and production, enabling continuous development for maximum agility, and can scale up without significant changes to tooling, architecture, or development practices. Okay. I don't know, man. It's probably because I'm reading it calmly, but this sounds pretty cool. The 12-factor methodology can be applied to apps written in any programming language, and which use any combination of backing services, database, queue, memory, cache, etc. Background: the contributors to this document have been directly involved in development and deployment of hundreds of apps, and indirectly witnessed the development, operation, and scaling of hundreds of thousands of apps via our work on the Heroku platform. Whoa, so these dudes work for Heroku, huh? Either worked for or worked on their platform. That's pretty cool. But used it. This document synthesizes all of our experience and observations on a wide variety of software as a service apps in the wild. It is a triangulation of ideal practices for app development, paying particular attention to the dynamics of the organic growth of an app over time, the dynamics of collaboration between developers working on the app's code base, and avoiding the cost of software erosion. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Going to the cost of software erosion. What does this lead to? The new Heroku Part 4 for erosion resistance and explicit contracts. Bro, like when you start talking about this shit as like contracts, oh, this is pretty cool. And you can like listen to this too. I like this feature because you get like listen to an article which is pretty cool. I mean, without like, using another app, but you can do it here. That's pretty cool. And you can have like a playlist too. Look at that. Oh, 2x speed. That's my speed right there. 1.3, What? Okay. In 2006, I wrote Catapult, a Quicksilver-inspired command line for the web. I deployed it on VPS, Slice Host, then gave the URL out to a few friends. At some point, I stopped using it, but some of my friends remained heavy users. 2 years later, I got an email. The site was down. Logging in the server via SSH, I discovered many small bits of breakage. Wow. Okay. Cool. That's another interesting article to read. I might like turn out the lights and just read that one as well, or listen to it. It's a short read, probably even shorter listen. Yeah, 8 minutes. All right, cool. Back to this. Our motivation is to raise awareness of some systemic problems we've seen in modern application development, to provide a shared vocabulary of discussing those problems, and to offer a set of broad conceptual solutions to those problems with accompanying terminology. The format is inspired by Martin Fowler's books, The Pattern of Enterprise Application Architecture and Refactoring. Who should read this document? Any developer building applications. Damn. Gotta turn on the buzz light. Y'all might hear a little pop. Hopefully. That's a pretty big fly. Any developer building applications which run as a service. Ops engineers who deploy or manage such applications. Okay. 1, code base. 1 code base tracked in revision control. Many deploys. Dependencies. Explicitly declare and isolate dependencies. Config. Store config in the environment. Treat backing servers. Treat backing servers as attached resources. Build, release, run. Strictly separate build and run stages. Processes. Execute the app as one or more stateless processes. Port binding. Export services via port binding. Concurrency. I don't totally understand that. Concurrency. Scale out via the process model. Disposability. Maximize robustness with fast startup and graceful shutdown. Okay. Yeah. Definitely, that's like a big thing. You don't want everything to like take forever to start up and then only to have it like go right back down or have to take it back down. You want that stuff to be as fast as possible because the time in between startups, like a shutdown and a startup, is sometimes nail biting, nerve-wracking. Dev prod parity. Keep development, staging, and production as similar as possible. Bro, I had to go through this just recently because like I'm doing this whole app revision or app refactoring where I'm looking at different parts of the app or the platform that I wrote to that or the web app that I wrote so that I can actually start doing more stuff in a dev box or dev environment, so I don't take down the actual production environment because it's just starting to get used more. Logs. Treat logs as event streams. Okay. Admin processes. Admin processes. Run admin management tasks as one-off processes. So let's look at concurrency. I want to get more into concurrency. Get the fuck. This is pretty cool. Let's read through this. Containerization is a great solution for dev prod parity. Dev prod parity. Now, yeah, so one thing I was running into is that I have cron jobs that, I run a part of the app. The app itself has the like cron JS or something like that, which is an NPM module. And with that, I don't want, my cron job to run on my dev box. Like, I don't want it to run from like, have like 3 or 4 development boxes up or what have you. And then in development, all those boxes are sending out emails or some stupid shit, right? I don't want to have that. So I had to, do a whole bunch of if conditionals to say like if process.env. whatever in my case, it's environment or something like that, I think is the key in the process, the process object. The environment, yeah, if the environment is dev, don't run this cron job. So I had to write a whole bunch of if statements. Where do I want these if statements to be placed? Do I want to touch the main index.js? I try not to touch the main index.js as much as possible. And I try to keep that the way it is unless it's like a major change that's needed. So I do everything around that because that's kind of the core that ties everything together. So I had to deal with that. And then also, if I'm in development, I want different email configs. So if you're emailing something and I want to test, like, what happens after I click a button, I wanted to change the way that I wanted to change the way it actually where it sends an email. So instead of sending it to, like, say, HR or another department, it just sends it just to me because I know I'm testing it. So stuff like that. And then I don't want to have to test it or change it to be like, oh, okay, now you're in development, change this. And so you can handle that with an if condition. Containerization is a great solution for dev prod parity. True. All right. I want to say, yeah, true. So let's read that. Use Docker compose.yaml for local dev, and in your dev environment, use your mail hog for that. Use your mail hog for the email. And I don't know what mail hog is. I don't know what mail hog is. Oh, look at mail. Okay, Mail Hog, inspired by Mail Catcher, easier to install, download, and run Mail Hog. Overview, Mail Hog is an email testing tool for developers. Okay, hold on. What did you do? Configure your application to use Mail Hog for SMTP delivery. View messages in the web UI or retrieve them from JSON API. Optionally release messages to real SMTP servers for delivery. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, wow. Huh. That's really cool. So yeah, you can just use this and then it looks like it sends an email, but it really doesn't. That's cool. And you can send it for real if you needed to. Oh, so it has like a whole web UI. Look at that. That's sick. That's sick as hell. I like that. That's cool. That's another good one. Let's go ahead and put that one in there. If you have to, like, set up a whole server for this, or you just make it a part of your app, I guess. That's cool. Damn, that's really cool. Inspired by Mail Catcher, easier to install. Look at this. Catches mail and serves it through a dream. Okay. Mail Catcher runs a super simple SMTP server which catches any messages sent to it to display on a web interface. Run Mail Catcher, set your favorite app to deliver instead of your default SMTP, and then check. Okay. Damn, that's very useful. Extremely useful. Okay. Use Docker Compose. Okay. Sometimes your messages come through as double on my side, so excuse me for that, guys. Use MailHog in all environments except production, obviously. Yeah. Nah, man, that's a good piece of tech or a software. What's it called? That's a good module to use. As a part of your whole process. That's really cool. Set that up on a dev box, like you run all your dev dependencies and stuff like that. So damn, that's really cool. Wow. I might integrate this here in the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks. But with Go, built with Go, MailHog runs without installation on multiple platforms. Wow. Okay. I delete messages that are in error. Read the second message. Error. Read the second message. Yeah, I guess your second message comes through as something else. Maybe maybe it's are you correcting it? I guess I don't know. Anyways, okay, cool. I'll read the second message from now on. But yeah, man, that's really cool. Read the second message. Okay, cool. That's really nice, man. Thank you. All right, so let's read this one. We'll have to go through this one as well. Concurrency, scale out via process model, via the process model. Any computer program once run is represented by one or more processes. Web apps have taken a variety of process execution forms. For example, PHP processes run as child processes of Apache, started on demand as needed by the request volume. Java processes take the opposite approach, with the JVM providing one massive Uber process that reserves a large block of system resources, CPU memory, on startup, with concurrency managed internally via threads. In both cases, the running processes are only minimally visible to the developers of the app. In the 12-factor app, processes are a first-class citizen. Processes in the 12-factor app take strong cues from the Unix process model of running service daemons. Okay, I can understand that. Using this model, the developer can architect their app to handle diverse workloads by assigning each type of work to a process type. For example, HTTP requests may be handled by a web process and long-running background tasks handled by a worker process. This does not exclude individual processes from handling their own internal multiplexing. Okay. Via threads inside the runtime VM. Okay, yeah, that's true. Like, especially, all right, yeah, and that sounds like if you're using like PM2 and you're using Node.js's cluster module or Node.js's cluster framework, I guess you would say. That would make sense when they're talking about multiplexing. Via threads inside the runtime VM, or the async evented model found in tools such as Event Machine, Twisted, Node.js. See, look at that. There you go. But an individual VM can only grow so large vertical scale. So the application must also be able to span multiple processes running on multiple physical machines. That's your microservice architecture right there. The process model truly shines when it comes time to scale. The share nothing horizontally partitionable nature of 12-factor app process means that adding more concurrency is a simple, reliable operation. The array of process types and number of processes of each type is known as the process formation. 12-factor app processes should never daemonize or write PID files. Instead, rely on the operating system's process manager, such as systemd, a distributed process manager on a cloud platform, or a tool like Foreman in the development to manage output streams, respond to crash processes, and handle user-initiated restarts and shutdowns. Wow, this is really cool. Like, and it's cool because it's pretty simple, kind of like bite-sized pieces, if you will. And then it explains it, and then it's like, okay, worker 1, and then web worker 2, or web 1, worker 1, clock 1, and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, so workload diversity and process types, scale, running processes. That's pretty cool, man. I like that. Oh, I delete messages that are in error. Read the second message. I see what you mean. Oh, and then I understand that. It took me a second. I thought you meant like delete messages like that are in that are caught by Mailhog. All right, cool. I sense confusion in your reply. Yes, read the second message and not the initial message. Okay, and then you clarify it after. Yeah, sometimes I'm not gonna lie, bro. Yeah, like definitely my brain has an event loop. I am not multi-threaded, but what happens is I have a callback queue for sure, because sometimes I'll listen to something that somebody says and I'll say what as my first response to it. That's like my console log. But then my callback queue catches up and puts it back in the event loop and then processes everything. So I don't do async await in my brain, man. I just keep going, and then it takes me a second, and it comes back, and it's like, oh yeah, I heard what you just said. As you're trying to explain it after I've already said what. It's kind of pretty. It's pretty funny, man. But sometimes it's like people say, if you honk, you can hear, but that doesn't mean you understand. So that's why I always tell people, man. People are like, oh, if you honk, you can hear. And it's like, yeah, but that don't mean I understand. That's funny, man. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. That's funny. Then, like, you clarified it after I read it. After I read it the second time. That's funny as shit. Oh, got something. Country living. Dev prod parody. talked about RabbitMQ in here, so that's pretty cool. Backing services app database. Yeah, definitely gonna be reading through this. It's YouTube, not you. I guess it takes a while for YouTube to send my replies. Yeah, what happens is I'm reading this through StreamYard. So StreamYard gets the original message, and then, but I'm sure in YouTube it would show that message is deleted, so people wouldn't see it. I would see it if I like say, hey, listen, show deleted messages. But in StreamYard, it just shows, it looks like you're sending two different messages, when I'm sure there's probably like a small change that you made, maybe like, you know, in terms of like what you wrote or something like that. Yeah. All right, cool. Some great articles. A great book was suggested today by Daniel, Mr. Tucker here. Oh, it's like I keep saying your whole name like I'm in freaking class or something like that. And a couple stub articles or a couple other articles have been found through that as well. So I'll read this one from Heroku, and then also Mailhog. I'll probably integrate this into like my dev environment for this app that I work on for my day job. But it's like things like this, man. I just don't get exposure to it, and that's another reason why I do these streams, because you know people like yourself, Richard Dixon, you know, like you guys like suggest all types of stuff to me in terms of like, oh, have you looked at this? Have you tried this? So on and so forth. And it's not like, you know, the usual, like, you know, an article or something like that, or what the stuff that we see and we consume from other channels where it might be gossip or video or anything or some other type of video. Like, it's good information. And I think that's what's really, really great. And I really do appreciate the guys giving me good information, because it also shows good information. It exposes other people to great information as well. And I think that's like super important. And I thank you guys so much for that. Really, really do appreciate it. With that being said, check out my latest article here. Just talking like, you know, converting a file to JSON on the client side. I'm going to get something to drink, and then I'm probably going to, I might check this. I might do a little bit more work on the app that I'm working on, and then chill for the night, watch probably some anime, chill for a second, and then probably read some of these articles here. Yeah, I'm kind of like up right now, so I don't think I'll go to bed anytime soon. But as always, guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Those watching the playback, you know, I appreciate you guys showing up as well. Mr. Tucker and all those that actually, you know, come to the live streams and put some information out there. Any information that you guys have, man, that you can share, yeah, that'd be great. And always put that in the comment section if you don't catch the live stream. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening, and I wish you guys all the best. Be safe. And as always, you know, if you're not taking what I say with a grain of salt, you're low on sodium. And of course, always take your time to grow throughout the day, or taking your time to grow today as best as possible. Thank you so much. Peace.